very good morning to all our viewers and everyone joining us today for the very first edition of the Evergreen Pension Scheme Members Conference. Today we are gathered here to update you on the performance of the scheme. And right away, I want to welcome everybody, and I want to ask that we keep this as interactive as possible. Kindly, if you have any comments or questions, kindly include it in the chat section, and then it will be addressed accordingly. Right away, I would want to ask to introduce the trustees we have with us this morning. And first on the bill is in the person of Mr. Kofi Finn. He is the Managing Director of Petra Trust Company. Prior to founding Petra Trust, Kofi was the Chief Operating Officer of Asset Management at Oceanic Capital Company Limited. It is the investment banking subsidiary of Oceanic Bank International. And at that time, Kofi was responsible for setting and implementing the strategy for the asset management business. I would like Mr. Finn to introduce himself and share a few words with us.
Thank you very much, Solomon. I guess Solomon has already partly introduced me. My name is Kofi Finn, and I'm Managing Director of Petra Trust. That's what I do in my day job when I'm not serving as chairman of the Evergreen Pension Scheme. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to interacting with you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Finn, for that. The next on the bill is in the person of Mr. Edward Boche. He is an accomplished finance and banking executive with 21 years experience covering various areas of finance, strategy, and retail banking. So, Mr. Edward, kindly share a few words with us.
Thank you, Solomon. I am happy to be here, and I think that clearly this is a very important time to have your feedback and to agree on ways that we can serve you better. So I look forward to the dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edward. We have also with us Mr. Charles Egan. He is a fellow of the Chartered Association of Certified Accountants, England and Wales, and a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ghana, with over 40 years of experience in the accountancy profession. Mr. Egan, if you can share some words with us, please.
Thank you, Solomon. Good morning, all members. I'm Charles Egan, an accountant by profession, and I was the managing partner for PricewaterhouseCoopers until I retired about 2010. I've been engaged in the pensions scheme as an independent trustee for about 10 years, and I serve on Evergreen Pension Scheme as an independent trustee, and I serve on some other boards. I think I'm happy to be here to interact with you and get your feedback on your scheme's performance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. And last on the bill, we have Mrs. Daphne Opon. She is a credible and successful human resource leader with combined experience in the banking and FMCG industries. She has a strong Pan-African orientation at the executive level with extensive experience in both emerging and developing markets. She's a well-rounded HR executive with experience in mergers and acquisitions, strategic business partnering, change management, talent management, and talent acquisition. We are grateful to have all our trustees here with us this morning, and we trust that we will have all your questions answered, and you will be able to understand fully how well your scheme is performing. All right, so with the introductions out of the way, we will take a quick break, and then after we return from the break, we will have some opening remarks from the chairman.
Running payroll can be a strenuous task, so the last thing you want is an extra lengthy process to validate schedules and then make payments, only to be told the payment couldn't be identified or assigned to your staff. But validating schedules and payments for your staff's pension contributions shouldn't be that stressful. With Petra's self-service schedule validation, you can validate your monthly schedules with a few clicks right from the comfort of your seat in less than 3 minutes. It's so simple. Here is what you have to do. 1. Open your browser and visit members.petratrust.com. Enter your login credentials and then select Manage Employer and validate. 2. To upload your schedule for validation. 3. After a successful validation, A report and payment advice will be sent to your email address. 4. Use the schedule ID on the payment advice as the bank account number when making payments at the bank, or as the reference if you are making payment via bank transfer. That's it. So simple. Please remember that every validator schedule will have a unique schedule ID, which will start with SI with a few other characters. Without this ID, the bank cannot accept your payments. So, always look out for the unique schedule ID on the payment advice for payments. Experience convenience. If you require any assistance, click on the chat feature on our members portal or contact our client services team on phone at 024-243-5037 extension 4. Email clientservices@petratrust.com or contact your relationship manager. Petra, achieve more.
And welcome back from the break. This is the first edition of the annual Scheme Members Conference for the Evergreen Pension Scheme. And right at this moment, we're going to take some opening remarks from the chairman. And so, Mr. Chairman, if you can kindly do us the honors.
Thank you very much, Solomon. Thanks again. And good morning again, everyone. And thank you again for joining us this morning. It's in the middle of the workday, and we know you could be doing other things. And so we're really glad that you're here with us today to hear what we have to say about this scheme. And it shows that this scheme is important to you. We're grateful. This is an event that we intend to hold every year going forward, as we extend our engagement beyond what is required by the law to what actually benefits you as scheme members. We have to be focused on fully supporting you to achieve the financial and retirement confidence that you deserve through your interaction and your association with us. As trustees, we are ultimately responsible for the administration, governance, and performance of the scheme. And this responsibility eventually determines the outcomes that you will enjoy at retirement. It is therefore important that we have these regular updates with you beyond the regular updates that we have with you in the workplace and the reports that we provide to your employers. We have to find myriad ways to communicate and engage. And this forum is in that direction. When it is all said and done, the most important thing about our relationship with you is that we continue to give you confidence in how your assets are faring. Our next speaker will give you some details of the scheme's performance, outlook, and strategy, and you will have the opportunity to ask questions at that time. However, I would like to step ahead and get ahead of him a little bit by giving you a few high-level details, which I'm very proud to do. From the inception of the scheme in 2018, it has grown significantly, with the growth coming from additional contributions and from investment performance. Last year, the Evergreen scheme grew from about 119 million Ghana cedis at the beginning of the year to end the year at 146 million Ghana cedis. That was significant growth. We also started the year with 3,460 active customers and grew that number by 486 to end the year with 3,906 active customers, accounting for about 40 customers who withdrew from the scheme for various reasons. The details of those withdrawals are in the annual statements that we have shared with you. On returns, the Evergreen scheme ended the year with a net return of 18.55%. This performance compared very well against the average 91-day Treasury bill return of 14.1% for last year. It compared very well against the depreciation of the cedi, and it did very well against the average rate of inflation. These measures are important because they ensure that we are providing a competitive return for you and that the funds that you have with us are growing their real value towards providing you with the support you need during your retirement. In real terms, your assets in the fund outpaced inflation by more than 8%. To conclude, we'd like to thank you all for the confidence that you have placed in us, your trustees. Working with all the other service providers, we are committed to identifying and investing in opportunities that will provide performance while mitigating risk. We will do this while we continue to ensure the delivery of quality services and convenience for you. On the subject of convenience, we have various service initiatives which will be discussed in more detail during this event. Again, I'd like to thank you all for your attention and look forward to having a very good session with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kofi Finn, Chairman of the Board. We would like to take a presentation of the scheme's investment strategy, performance, and outlook now, and that will be handled by the portfolio team. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll join you soon.
Running payroll can be a strenuous task, so the last thing you want is an extra lengthy process to validate schedules and then make payments, only to be told the payment couldn't be identified or assigned to your staff. But validating schedules and payments for your staff's pension contributions shouldn't be that stressful. With Petra's self-service schedule validation, you can validate your monthly schedules with a few clicks right from the comfort of your seat in less than 3 minutes. It's so simple. Here is what you have to do. 1. Open your browser and visit members.petratrust.com. Enter your login credentials and then select Manage Employer and validate. 2. To upload your schedule for validation. 3. After a successful validation, a report and payment advice will be sent to your email address. 4. Use the schedule ID on the payment advice as the bank account number when making payment at the bank, or as the reference if you are making payment via bank transfer. That's it. So simple. Please remember that every validator schedule will have a unique schedule ID, which will start with SI with a few other characters. Without this ID, the bank cannot accept your payments. So always look out for the unique schedule ID on the payment advice for payments. Experience convenience. If you require any assistance, click on the chat feature on our members portal or contact our client services team on phone at 024-243-5037 extension 4. Email clientservices@petratrust.com or contact your relationship manager. Petra, achieve more.
(243-5037). Petra, achieve more.
We wake up and we are young. We have time, we say. Then, here comes the 20s and the 30s. We are married, baby number 1 arrives, and 2, oh no, nothing saves, still struggling hand to mouth. And then, one day we wake up and 60 is here. And nothing's been achieved.
Don't get caught in the cycle. Take your first step to a secured financial future with Petra. Call Petra today for your free advisory session.
Hello and welcome back from the break. We were getting ready to take a presentation of the scheme's investment strategy, performance, and outlook. And to help us do that this morning, we have with us the portfolio team from Petra Trust. So I would like for them to introduce themselves to us and let us know what they are responsible for, and then they can take us into their presentation.
Good morning once again. Mr. Chairman, distinguished trustees, fellow scheme members, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Derek Larty, and I head the portfolio management team at Petra. This morning, I'll be taking you through a report on the performance and investment strategy of the Evergreen pension scheme for the 2020 calendar year. The Evergreen pension scheme's net asset value ended the year at about 146 million Ghana cedis. This represents a growth of 22.08% compared to the previous year's NAV. You will find a breakdown of inflows and outflows in your brochure. Inflows are contributions received from employers of the scheme, and outflows are benefits paid to scheme members during the year. On scheme expenses, 2% of the scheme's assets under management is charged as fees per annum. This fee is shared between the regulator, the administrator, fund managers, and custodian. On compliance, I'm confident to say that the scheme was compliant with all investment guidelines as at the end of 2020. The government of Ghana Security had an allocation of 70%, that's the maximum allocation granted by the MPRA. 14% of the scheme's assets were allocated to local government and statutory agencies. 3% were allocated to corporate bonds, 10% to money market securities, 2% quoted shares, and 1% collective investment schemes. I'll go on to talk about our scheme returns for last year. The scheme generated a net return of 18.55% for the year 2020. We at Petra, or the Evergreen trustees, repositioned the portfolios in response to the uncertainties created in the market by events like the banking sector crisis to achieve this return of 18.55% at the end of the 2020 calendar year. Going on to our strategy and what we saw or what we think would happen in 2021. Following the pandemic in 2020, we expected to see signs of recovery this year with the reopening of major economies and the pickup in international trade. This we have seen with global GDP numbers being revised upwards from last year's pessimistic view. Our currency is expected to remain stable throughout the year on the back of robust reserves. In the wake of fears concerning a second wave of the virus, the slow growth in Ghana's economic activity was expected to support the slowdown in inflation, for it to trend back towards the medium-term target band of 6 to 10%. The most recent data we have received on our year-on-year inflation is at the most recent data we have has our year-on-year inflation at 9%, which is within the target band. We expected this slowdown in inflation to give the central bank room for further cuts in the benchmark policy this year, and we witnessed a reduction of this benchmark rate to 13.5% from 14.5% in May 2021. Nevertheless, a volatile external environment, economic slowdown from potential waves of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the risk of fiscal slippages following the suspension of the Fiscal Deficit Act continue to remain as key risks to our outlook. Based on these factors and based on some of these analyses that we did last year, we made certain decisions regarding our strategy along our asset allocation. These include: 1, to maximize our allocation to government securities subject to the regulatory cap. 2, to reallocate fixed deposit maturities to higher yielding collective investment schemes. 3, to invest in high quality corporate bonds with strong legal arrangements. 4, to continue to maintain our exposure to local government securities. 5, to take opportunistic positions in carefully selected stocks on the local exchange that offer rewarded risk factor exposures. And last but not the least, we sought to diversify our portfolios into the alternative asset class space for investments with less correlated returns to the fixed income traditional asset classes. I would like to thank you very much for trusting us to be your partner in achieving your retirement goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Latte, for that presentation. We'll go on to take the presentation of opinion on the financial accounts of the scheme for the 2020 financial year. And to do that, we have our auditors with us from John K. & Co. We have Mr. Samuel Annan, an audit manager with us to help us with that presentation. So, Mr. Annan, if you're ready, please take us away.
Thank you, Solomon. I now proceed to present to you our report for the Evergreen Pension Scheme. Opinion. We have audited our company financial statement of Evergreen Pension Scheme, which comprises the statement of net assets available for benefit as at 31st December 2020, the statement of changes in assets available for benefit, the statement of movement in net assets available for benefit, and the statement of cash flow for the year then ended, and notes to the financial statement, which includes a summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory notes as set out on pages 17 to 29 of the financial statement. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statement gives a true and fair view of the financial statements of Evergreen Pension Scheme as at 31st December 2020, and of the scheme's financial performance and its cash flows for the year then ended, in accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standard and the requirements of the National Pensions Act 2008, Act 776, and the National Pensions Amendment Act 2014, Act 883, and the Occupational and Personal Pensions Scheme, General, Regulation 2011, LI 1990. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with the International Standard on Auditing. Our responsibility under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibility for the audit of the financial statement section of our report. We are independent of the scheme in accordance with the International Ethics Standard Board for Accountants Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, IASB's A Code. And we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the IASB's Code. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide us with the basis for our opinion. Key audit matters. Key audit matters are those matters that, in our professional judgment, were of most significance in the audits of the financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2020. These matters are expressed in the context of the audit of the financial statement as a whole and informing our opinion thereon, and we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. We have determined the following matters as key audit matters. 1. Income recognition. Income is an important measure of performance and represents a material item in the scheme's statement of changes in net assets available for benefit. The scheme generates its income from investment of funds, members' fund. Income arises from interest that accrue on these investments and coupons or interest that are received on running matured and terminated investments. Given that some of the scheme's assets will mature beyond 31st December 2020, the cut-off date of 31st December 2020 is significant to ensure that amounts that will accrue after this date are not recognized as income in the current financial statement. In this regard, we consider income recognition as key audit matter. How the matter was addressed in our audit. Our audit procedures included the following. We reviewed the design and implementation of the scheme's income recognition procedure to determine the adequacy of controls over the scheme's investment valuation procedures and income recognition. For a sample of significant investment, we obtained evidence of their existence, their particulars, and recomputed the income recognition on these investments to verify accuracy. We also evaluated the adequacy of accounting policies and the disclosures on income recognized in the scheme's statement of changes in net assets available for benefits. 2. Impact of COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic had significant impact on management's assumption and judgment of financial statements. The pandemic led to significant economic, accounting, and regulatory developments that affected the operations of the scheme during 2020. These developments also affected our overall approach to the audit. We therefore consider impact on COVID-19 as key audit matter. How we address the matter in our audit. Our audit procedure included review policies and directives from the government of Ghana, the National Pension Regulatory Authority, applicable to the operations of the scheme to confirm compliance. We also reviewed the credit assessment of the scheme's assets as a result of COVID-19 and reviewed the adequacy of impairment provision for the scheme's assets. We reviewed the performance procedure to ensure that income is recognized on scheme assets that are impaired as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Report on other information. Management is responsible for other information. The other information comprises reports of the trustees. Our opinion on the financial statement does not cover the other information, and we do not express any form of assurance conclusion thereon. In connection with our audit of the financial statement, our responsibility is to read the other information, and in doing so, consider whether the other information is materially inconsistent with the financial statement or the knowledge obtained in the audit, or otherwise appears to be misstated. If based on the work we have performed, we conclude that there is a material misstatement of these other information, we are required to report that fact. We have determined that there is nothing to report in this regard. Trustees' responsibility for the financial statement. The trustees are responsible for the preparation of the financial statement that gives a true and fair view in accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standards and the requirements of the National Pensions Act 2008, Act 766, the National Pensions Amendment Act 2014, Act 883, and the Occupational and Personal Pension Schemes Regulation 2011, LI 1990, and for such internal control as the trustees determine necessary to enable the preparation of the financial statement that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. The trustees are also responsible for overseeing the scheme's reporting processes. Auditors' responsibility for the audit of the financial statement. Our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but it's not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with the ISAs will always detect a material misstatement when it exists. Misstatement can arise from fraud or error, or considered material if individually or in aggregate, they could reasonably be expected to influence the economic decision of users taken on the basis of these financial statements. As part of an audit in accordance with the ISAs, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We also identify and assess the risk of material misstatement of the financial statement, whether due to fraud or error, design and perform audit procedures responsive to those risks, and obtain audit evidence that is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. The risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than that resulting from an error, as fraud may involve collusion, forgery, intentional omission, misrepresentation, or override of internal controls. We obtain an understanding of the internal control relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstance, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the scheme's internal control. We evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates and related disclosures made by the trustees. We also conclude on the appropriateness of trustees' use of going concern basis of accounting, and based on the audit evidence, obtain whether a material uncertainty exists related to events or conditions that may cast significant doubt on the scheme's ability to continue as a going concern. If we conclude that a material uncertainty exists, we are required to draw the attention in our auditor's reports to the related disclosure in the financial statement, or if such disclosures are inadequate, to modify our opinion. Our conclusions are based on the audit evidence obtained up to the date of the auditor's report. However, future events or conditions that may cause the scheme to cease to continue as a going concern. We evaluate the overall presentation, the structure and content of the financial statement, including the disclosures, and whether the financial statement represents the underlying transactions and events in the manner that achieves fair presentation. We communicate with those charged with governance regarding, among other matters, the plan, scope, and timing of the audits, and significant audit findings, including any significant deficiencies in the internal controls that we identified during our audit. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. Compliance with the requirements of the National Pensions Act, Act 766, National Pensions Amendment Act 2014, Act 883, and the Occupational and Personal Pension Schemes Regulation 2011, LI 1990. We have obtained all information and explanatory which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of our audit. In our opinion, proper accounting records have been kept, and the trustees of the scheme have fully complied with the prohibited investment practices stated under Section 35 of the Occupational and Personal Pension Schemes Regulation 2011, LI 1990, and all other requirements under the National Pensions Act 2008, Act 766, and the National Pensions Amendment Act 2014, Act 883, so far as it appears from the examination of the books of the scheme. The engagement partner on the audits resulting in this independent auditor's report is John Armstrong Yaklinogo, signed and dated on 26th of April 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anand, for that extensive and exhaustive report. At this point, we will take a quick break, and when we return, we will have some remarks from the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. So see you in a bit.
Goals, dreams, aspirations. We all have them, and they're the reasons why we save and invest, aren't they? But are you saving right? Because if you're not, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Let me introduce you to Petra's Wealth Planner, a personal financial planning and advisory service for individuals who desire to achieve their dreams. With Wealth Planner, a trained individual sits with you and develops a financial plan based on your unique needs and recommends the appropriate financial investment to attain your goals. What you need to do is to contact Petra for a planning session, and an advisor is going to call you to introduce him or herself and get to know you better and understand your current position and what your desires are. Then your goals are clearly outlined and a financial plan is developed based on your unique situation. Your advisor will also make some savings and investment recommendations to you to consider in executing the plan. Remember, the right execution is what leads to achieving your goals. That is why your advisor will keep tabs on your plan and provide ongoing advice throughout the execution until your goals are achieved. So, what are you waiting for? Call us on 0242 435 037 or send us a DM on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Petra on social, and let's get started. Petra, achieve more.
You're welcome back from the break. Before the break, we took some presentations from the portfolio team on the scheme's investment strategy and outlook, and also we took some reports from the auditor. Currently, we'll be taking some remarks from the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, and we have in the house Mr. Amate Vondi, a rep from the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, to deliver to us this remarks. So, Mr. Amate, we are happy to have you here. If you could just go ahead and give us your remarks.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me express the appreciation of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority to Petra Trust for the invitation to be present here at this event. As a matter of fact, the Chief Executive Officer himself had wanted to be present, but there's a clash for which he has to attend to an equally important national assignment. So he has delegated me, the Director for Regulation and for Planning and Research, to represent him and to make a few remarks on his behalf. In the first place, I really want to congratulate Petra Trust for this event. And even more to the extent that it promotes a lot of transparency in its dealings with its members, its contributors, and beneficiaries. Pension issues sometimes turn out to be emotional issues, and rightly so, because it happens at the tail end of people's active working life. it's at the time when they are looking for some retirement income security. So pension schemes serve that purpose of alleviating poverty in old age. So every effort that goes in to promote retirement income is always welcome for any active worker. And Petra has been a leading institution offering that kind of security to people who live their active working life. I really congratulate you, and I'm really impressed about your performance. Now, in addition to all that you are doing, let me say that I, at the very personal level, have seen the progress that Petra Trust has made, continues to make, and indeed, for me as a regulator, it is something that I really will encourage you in every way, that you know the regulators officer can assist you to achieve whatever heights that you can achieve going into the future. Now, pension schemes will continue to grow in importance as we get along. It is not something that will just be peculiar to us here in Ghana, but globally. If you look at the statistics that have just been released by the International Organization of Pension Supervisors, it says that globally, as at the end of the year 2020, total assets in private pension funds have grown to the tune of 35 trillion US dollars. In 2019, it was 32 trillion US dollars, but by the end of 2020, this had grown to 35 trillion US dollars. In some countries, you will even find that their private pension assets even exceed their country's GDP, that's their total economic output. Countries like Netherlands have about 200% of their private pension funds, being 200% the size of their GDP, so you can imagine. I'm sure as we get along here in Ghana, the same kind of situation will tend to apply. Now, we even observe that here in Ghana, as at the end of the year 2019, let me quote the exact figures, for purpose of our education. As at the end of 2019, we had total private pension assets being 26.3 billion Ghana cedis. But as at the end of 2020, this had grown to 33.4 billion Ghana cedis. What it meant is that we experienced a growth of about 21% in 2020 over 2019. Compared 2018 to 2019, the growth was 17%. And that's significant because it was even within the COVID era, yet we are seeing a lot of growth. It's again in the decumulation phase of the private pension schemes, but we are still seeing a growth. Thanks to the efforts of companies like Petra and the other companies that are doing so well in managing contributions that members have given to those companies. It is my wish, it is my prayer that we continue to do better and ensure the Ghanaian worker retires home with much better retirement income security. The pensions reform more or less has given some kind of diversity to the source of income for the retired person. Now, what excites me about Petra is the diversity of products that you also have. That goes a long way to boost that kind of income to the Ghanaian worker. Let's all look at it quite seriously. Nobody remains young forever. In fact, for every single day that passes by, it's a day closer to your retirement. And people must see it quite seriously into taking their pensions future into their own hands. The varied personal pension products that are available that one can take advantage of, let's all do that. Contribute to them and be amazed that the little monies that you contribute in some of these schemes, in addition to the mandatory schemes, I'm talking about the basic National Social Security Scheme and then the occupational pension schemes, if you add on the little contribution that you make into your own personal pension plans for your future, by virtue of the power of compound interest, can grow into substantial funds that will assist you to live quite comfortably in retirement. And indeed, you find that those years of your retirement probably will be the best parts of your life on this earth. So once again, I will congratulate Petra. Keep up with your good work. And then the trustees, again, I salute you. Keep working harder. Keep giving the kind of supervision that you are giving to Petra to enable Petra to keep performing. My wish is that you expand your services and your influence more beyond what we see in the urban areas. The sectors that we have within our active labor force, I'm talking about the informal sector, is so huge, yet coverage has not been the best in that sector. I will urge you, Petra, to extend your services to that sector beyond the kind of impression that we have as if it's more like an urban-based company. Let's see the extent to which you can also extend your good services to the informal sector. In fact, they even probably need retirement income at a more extensive level than those of us in the formal sector we do. And I trust that your good work will be blessed. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Von D, for those remarks. We'll be entering into a Q&A session soon. And so if you have any questions, kindly indicate it in the chat section so that we can address it when we do get there. But before we do that, we will have a session on the kind of initiatives that Petra Trust or Petra is taking. And before we do that, I will go for a quick commercial break, and then when we return, we'll take those initiatives. So see you in a short while.
Running payroll can be a strenuous task, so the last thing you want is an extra lengthy process to validate schedules and then make payments, only to be told the payment couldn't be identified or assigned to your staff. But validating schedules and payments for your staff's pension contributions shouldn't be that stressful. With Petra's self-service schedule validation, you can validate your monthly schedules with a few clicks right from the comfort of your seat in less than 3 minutes. It's so simple. Here is what you have to do. 1. Open your browser and visit members.petratrust.com. Enter your login credentials and then select Manage Employer and validate. 2. To upload your schedule for validation. 3. After a successful validation, a report and payment advice will be sent to your email address. 4. Use the schedule ID on the payment advice as the bank account number when making payment at the bank, or as the reference if you are making payment via bank transfer. That's it. So simple. Please remember that every validator schedule will have a unique schedule ID, which will start with SI with a few other characters. Without this ID, the bank cannot accept your payments. So always look out for the unique schedule ID on the payment advice for payments. Experience convenience. If you require any assistance, click on the chat feature on our members portal or contact our client services team on phone at 024-243-5037 extension 4. Email clientservices@petratrust.com or contact your relationship manager. Petra, achieve more. Running payroll can be a strenuous task, so the last thing you
Goals, dreams, aspirations. We all have them, and they are the reasons why we save and invest, aren't they? But are you saving right? Because if you're not, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Let me introduce you to Petra's Wealth Planner, a personal financial planning and advisory service for individuals who desire to achieve their dreams. With Wealth Planner, a trained individual sits with you and develops a financial plan based on your unique needs and recommends the appropriate financial investment to attain your goals. what you need to do is to contact Petra for a planning session, and an advisor is going to call you to introduce him or herself and get to know you better and understand your current position and what your desires are. Then your goals are clearly outlined and a financial plan is developed based on your unique situation. Your advisor will also make some savings and investment recommendations to you to consider in executing the plan. Remember, the right execution is what leads to achieving your goals. That is why your advisor will keep tabs on your plan and provide ongoing advice throughout the execution until your goals are achieved. So, what are you waiting for? Call us on 0242 435 037 or send us a DM on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Petra on Social, and let's get started. Petra, achieve more.
Running payroll can be a strenuous task, so the last thing you want is an extra lengthy process to validate schedules and then make payments, only to be told the payment couldn't be identified or assigned to your staff. But validating schedules and payments for your staff's pension contributions shouldn't be that stressful. With Petra's self-service schedule validation, you can validate your monthly schedules with a few clicks right from the comfort of your seat in less than 3 minutes. It's so simple. Here is what you have to do. 1. Open your browser and visit members.petratrust.com. Enter your login credentials and then select Manage Employer and validate. 2. To upload your schedule for validation. 3. After a successful validation, a report and payment advice will be sent to your email address. 4. Use the schedule ID on the payment advice as the bank account number when making payments at the bank, or as the reference if you are making payment via bank transfer. That's it. So simple. Please remember that every validator schedule will have a unique schedule ID, which will start with SI with a few other characters. Without this ID, the bank cannot accept your payments. So always look out for the unique schedule ID on the payment advice for payments. Experience convenience. If you require any assistance, click on the chat feature on our members portal or contact our client services team on phone at 024-243-5037 extension 4. Email clientservices@petratrust.com or contact your relationship manager. Petra, achieve more.
You're welcome back from the break, and thank you all for staying with us all this while. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be discussing some initiatives from the Petra team, and we have with us the head of customer service and the head of the relationship management departments to address the Petra initiative. So I would like to introduce them. For head of customer service, we have Mrs. Judy Chinnery. She's here to help us understand some of the initiatives that Petra is undertaking. And as well, we have Mr. Kennedy Smith, the head of the relationship management team. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you and you're welcome. All right, so who would like to start, please?
Okay, I'll go first.
All right, good.
So, like our moderator rightfully said, my name is Judy Chinnery. I lead the customer experience team here at Petra. And we are the team that is responsible for putting smiles on your faces whenever you interact with us, whether you're talking to us in our call center or you're using our self-service channel to monitor the growth in your contributions and see what progress you made so far. We are the ones you're talking to. In this session, I'll talk briefly about self-service options that are available to you, more importantly in this COVID era where digitization has become very important. And then I'll talk about other products and services that we are providing to you based on the feedback you have provided to us on the things that you need. So on our self-service channels, I'll start with our members portal. We have an online portal where our scheme members can go on, register with their contact details, and be able to monitor their investments from the convenience of their home. Whether you're in your office, you're using your laptop, or from the convenience of your palm, you are accessing our portal to see the growth in your contributions and the returns that you are accruing on a daily basis. You can also generate statements to use it for other purposes, including visa applications and other needs that you may have. On this same online portal, you can send tickets with requests so that our customer support team at the back end can resolve your request and provide you with prompt and timely feedback. On our portal, if you experience any challenge also, today we have live chat agents available to support you or address any requests or concerns that you may have as you interact with us. In addition to that, you can, as Savings Booster customers, you can make payments via the online portal. This ensures that your payments are easily identified or traced to you. The next self-service channel that I'll talk about will be our USSD shortcode, our *44770#, on which most of you are already registered. We've rolled this self-service channel out for some time now, but in the past year, we've added even more features, including the make payments feature for our Savings Booster customers to conveniently make payments without the need to walk into the bank. Like I said, especially in the time that we find ourselves in and the need to limit our movement to only essentials. You are home, you're in the office, you take your phone, you can dial the shortcode. Whether you're using a YAM or a smartphone, you easily dial the shortcode and you're able to make payments easily and conveniently. And we, on the other end, can easily identify these payments and process them onto your account. Also, I'll move on to talk about other payment options available to Savings Booster customers. So although most of us are focused on our Tier 2 scheme now towards our pension, we also understand that we have other financial goals that we want to attain. And it's for this reason that we've rolled out other products like the Savings Booster and the Achieve app to help you save towards these other financial goals that you have. For the Savings Booster customers, we've received your feedback once again about the challenges you faced in the past about making payments, and that is why we have rolled out other payment options. Today, you can go onto our online portal, our members portal that I mentioned earlier, and make payments through your debit cards or even your Momo account. You can also make payments on our MyGHPay platform, a solution offered by GT Bank. You go on there, sign on, and make payments with your Petra ID, both into your main Savings Booster account and your sub account. So payments is easier and fun these days. So you shouldn't have any challenges at all as you go on. The next thing I'll talk about will be the Achieve app. From the palm of your hand, we have brought you a solution that helps you to achieve your financial goals. Just take your smartphone, go onto the iStore on your Apple phones or the Google Play Store for the Android users. You can download the Achieve app for free. There's no fee attached to it. Get on there. You have a lot of investment products. We have partner service providers to provide you with solutions. Today we have the DigiSave product, a product that allows you to make different sizes of contribution all at your convenience to save towards your goal. You can create goals on the DigiSave product. You can track the achievement of these goals. And from the palm of your hands, once again, you will conveniently save towards securing your financial future. I can't end these initiatives without talking about Customer Service Week celebration globally. So in October every year, the first week is set aside to celebrate the Global Customer Service Week. We take part in this celebration to appreciate our customers for choosing us and for staying with us all through these times. Last year, we took we planned and we made sure that customers who walked into our offices were given treats, we were served with treats, and we also gave out souvenirs for you to bond with our brand even further. So don't be left out in this year's celebration. Come through with us, engage with us through all of our channels and our self-service portal throughout our Customer Service Week celebration so that you are not left out. I'll now hand over to Kennedy to talk about the initiatives for the employers.
Thank you very much, Judy, for that presentation. My name is Kennedy Smith, and I'm in charge of the relationship management team with Petra. As an organization, one of the things that we take very seriously is the relationship with employers. So we have a department that is in charge of interacting with the various reps from the various organizations that each of you is part of. And that is the department that I'm responsible for. I'll touch on some of the initiatives that we've introduced over the years to the employers that will benefit the employers. And on the long run, will also benefit you as a scheme member. I'll start with the contact details campaign. One of the things that we like to ensure that it continues And I think it's one of the things that our father from the MPRA is very keen about, is ensuring that people receive timely information on the funds that we manage on their behalf. So as a result of that, we launched a campaign to gather the contact details of employees. And we did that through the employers. It was our own initiative to encourage your various HR partners, payroll officers, and finance managers to help us to gather your details. We had a total of about 8 people that we rewarded, 8 clients that we rewarded. And the ultimate prize was a weekend getaway at Royal Senchi. Yeah, somebody actually had fun with the partner. And it was because they actually assisted us to, gather your details. And I can say that it was a successful campaign because we had an increase from 21% of the various contact details that we have within the scheme to about 54%, which is above average. And we think that it was a good initiative to embark on. And we'll be doing some of these things to ensure that at least you also go to Senchi or any other prize that we'll put across. All right, and one of the initiatives that we introduced over the years, and this, we're very particular about this because as an organization, we learn over time. And we've been in the business for close to, I think this is our 10th year. And we think that the feedback that we've received over the years has helped us to grow. So we introduced a function for employers on our members portal, where employers can send their schedules through the portal or self-validate their schedules to ensure that they can make payment and meet the 14th deadline as per the regulations. We are not interested in ensuring that employers fail in making payments on your behalf and also have penalty units. So we put this across to ensure that at least they're able to validate their schedules timely whilst they are in their office or wherever they find themselves. And one of the key things also that the function that we added for the employers is to be able to manage your data. That is, if there's a change in SNID number, change in name, they'll be able to manage those information on the portal. They don't need to send it to us for us to give them SLAs and all that. It is fast within 24 hours. It will be recognized in our system. During the COVID, we, as an organization, as you're aware, a lot of organizations were finding a way to see how best they can operate. And we gathered to have a brainstorming session. I'm sure when Chairman comes in, he will talk more about that. And one of the solutions that we came up with is a payroll software for our employers. We think that employers go through a lot when it comes with computing taxes and making payment to their employees. All right, so in order to help them, we introduced a software that is what we call Achieve Payroll. And what this payroll does is that it helps you to be able to manage your payroll system very swift and very timely. We've introduced some basic functions that helps you to compute your tax, your SNIT contributions, your tier 2 and your tier 3 and any other deductions. Within just about 3 clicks, you should be through in running your payroll. And one of the things that we ensure that this software also achieve is that to be able to save time, all right, so that you can also receive your salary on time and also receive timely credit to your account. And I can say on authority that for the people that have jumped on this payroll software have benefited from some of these basic features that I'm talking about. And it is cloud-based, so you can actually access it anywhere you find yourself. I know a lot of you on this call and on this webinar are trying to start your own businesses. If you are considering maybe setting up a formal business and you want to get a software that can run the payroll of the people that you've employed, this is something that you can look out for. You don't need to be a Petra client or be part of any scheme of ours before you can enjoy this software. So please feel free to get in touch. And the icing on the cake is that the basic functions are for free. Yes, you heard it right, it's for free. If you need any specific customization, we can actually look into it and see how best we can do it and see how we can price it. But today, the basic functions in running your payroll on this software is free. I'd like to sign off by saying that we'd like to thank all of the individuals on this call that are contact persons and employers. We thank them for their relationship. We would like to encourage you that even though we bombard you with a lot of emails, please try as much as possible to bear with us. We just want to ensure that your scheme members are well served and are well secured for their financial future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kennedy Smith and Judy Chinnery, for those presentations. I think that they are all in line with what is currently happening in our world today. All the initiatives are very digital and tech heavy, and so they are supposed to help us in this time to be more productive in whatever we are doing. We'll be moving on into the Q&A session. As I mentioned earlier, if you have a question, kindly indicate it in the chat section, and then it will be addressed during that session. But before then, we'll take a quick break, and then when we return, we'll go into the questions and answer session.
Goals, dreams, aspirations. We all have them, and they are the reasons why we save and invest, aren't they? But are you saving right? Because if you're not, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Let me introduce you to Petra's Wealth Planner, a personal financial planning and advisory service for individuals who desire to achieve their dreams. With Wealth Planner, a trained individual sits with you and develops a financial plan based on your unique needs and recommends the appropriate financial investment to attain your goals. What you need to do is to contact Petra for a planning session, and an advisor is going to call you to introduce him or herself and get to know you better and understand your current position and what your desires are. Then your goals are clearly outlined and a financial plan is developed based on your unique situation. Your advisor will also make some savings and investment recommendations to you to consider in executing the plan. Remember, the right execution is what leads to achieving your goals. That is why your advisor will keep tabs on your plan and provide ongoing advice throughout the execution until your goals are achieved. So, what are you waiting for? Call us on 0242 435 037 or send us a DM on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Petra on Social, and let's get started. Petra, achieve more.
You're welcome back from the break. As I initially mentioned, we are now in our Q&A session, and we'll be addressing some questions that you've sent us to tackle. I'll be handling this together with some panelists with us. We have the chairman of the scheme here with us in the person of Mr. Kofi Finn. We have Kennedy Smith here, who is the head of relationship management at Petra. We have Judy Chinnery, who is the head of customer service. And then we have Mr. Derek Latte, who is the head of the portfolio team at Petra. And so whatever your question may be, I'm sure any one of these wonderful people can assist in answering. And so we'll take the very first question from Matthew Osei. He's asking, what's being done to assist members to retrieve funds initially paid into the temporary pension fund account? Can any of our panelists take that, please?
Okay, I'll take that, Solomon. Thank you very much. Thank you, Matthew, for your question. I think this is one of the questions that happened for the past week, and I think it's very valid. Thank you. So what we've been doing as an organization and as a scheme is that we've been working with the various employers to be able to get the up-to-date data of individuals who are affected by the temporary pension fund account. So if you have your funds, usually what we do is that the process is that we validate the schedule on the software that has been provided by MPRA. And when you pass the validation, we go through a process where the funds are transferred to the varied schemes. So for Evergreen scheme members, when we get the data from the contact person, that's your employer, what we do is that we validate through the system, then we make the information available to MPRA. If there is no kickback and the data that we've received is valid, MPRA goes through the process of transferring the funds into the custody account of the scheme.
All right, thank you for that answer, Mr. Kennedy Smith. The next one is coming from Charles Day, and he's asking, what is the current interest rate applicable on my funds? I think, Mr. Derek Latte, you can take this one.
Yeah, thank you very much, Solomon. Today we are doing 20.87% on the Evergreen pension scheme. This is a really good return if you compare it to our year-on-year inflation for about 9%. This means that all our scheme members are enjoying an 11%, over an 11% real return on their scheme funds. Thank you very much, Solomon.
All right, thank you very much, Derek, for that one. We also have a question. Okay, you didn't say your name, but you are asking, can the role of the custodian, that is EcoBank, be clarified? Can the role of the custodian, that is EcoBank, be clarified?
Sure.
Derek.
I'll take that.
Yes.
Yeah, so but the structure, the pension structure, if you look at the guidelines, we have the trustee who appoints service providers to administer the funds in the scheme. These funds are administered by the administrator in conjunction with service providers like the fund manager and the custodian. The fund manager is responsible for taking security selection decisions after the trustees have set the different asset allocation targets for the scheme. So when we say we are doing a Government of Ghana asset class allocation of 70%, we instruct the fund managers to work within that band, and then they go into the market and select the different kind of securities on the yield curve, whether a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year bond, and based on the different mandates they have in their agreements with the scheme. What the custodian does is that it keeps custody. I mean, the word says it for itself. It is the bank that is responsible for keeping all the assets for the scheme. The custodian for the Evergreen pension scheme is EcoBank. Because of this structure, the administrator, the fund manager, and even trustees don't have access to these assets. This is why we have the bank, that's EcoBank, to keep all assets for the scheme. This is the responsibility for the custodian. So they make sure that all assets are kept well, they are kept away from the reach of fund managers, from the reach of administrators, and they kept safe so that we don't have any issues like we saw in 2018 and 2019, the banking sector crisis. Thank you very much, Solomon.
Thank you, Derek, for that. The next question is, why was Evergreen created while there is PAPS? Why was Evergreen created while there is PAPS? So who could take that first? I think a lot of the questions are going to Derek this morning.
Yeah, so I mean, it's related to the initial question, the initial response I was given. Like I mentioned, we have the custodian for Evergreen is EcoBank. PAPS is a Petra Advantage Pension Scheme, and whose custody is Standard Chartered Bank. In doing this, in relating to our scheme members and a lot of stakeholders within the industry, we got a lot of feedback that pointed to one direction, that they wanted another alternative to the custodial services. EcoBank has a wide reach across the nation, and that is why we chose to create another scheme that would have its custodian service provided by EcoBank. And that's where the birth of Evergreen Pension Scheme came from. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. I think this question is from the same person, I'm assuming. He's asking, how can an employer switch from PAPS to Evergreen? How can an employer switch from PAPS to Evergreen? Who would take that for us? Mr. Kennedy Smith, can you take that for us, please?
All right, thank you, Solomon. So basically, because they are separate schemes, what if you are interested in switching from PAPS to Evergreen, you officially have to complete an employer application form on that's meant for Evergreen scheme, then with a cover letter that you want to move from PAPS to Evergreen, then we'll set you up under Evergreen, and we'll follow through by moving the funds from PAPS to Evergreen scheme for onward management.
All right, thank you very much, Kennedy, for that. I think the next question is going to the chairman. I think a member of the scheme wants to find out why there is no Tier 3 for the Evergreen. So I guess in essence, they want to have a tier 3 for that. So can you help with that question? Why is there no tier 3 for the Evergreen scheme?
Okay. Thank you very much, Solomon. I think that's an interesting question, and I hope it's because the person who asked the question is enjoying the tier 2 services so much.
I believe so.
Well, that question depends on whether the person is looking at tier 3 from the institutional perspective or as an individual. As Judy and the team spoke about at length, if you're an individual who's looking to make contributions into a tier 3 scheme, we've provided a significant number of channels that allow you to basically access it, whether it's through direct debit, using our apps, or even from your company's payroll, particularly if your company is using our payroll application. If we see enough demand or there are sufficient requests for an alternative tier 3 scheme that has different characteristics than the ones that we have right now, we'd be very happy to oblige by opening one. But for the person who's asking, they should get in touch with us to find out what we have available. And if what we have available does not serve their needs, we can have a conversation about that.
Rightly answered. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for that. The next question is, how can our company have a representation on the trust board? I think, Chairman, probably you will take this as well. How can our company have a representation on the trust board?
Okay. So let me deal with that as well. The law that governs tier 2 and tier 3 schemes requires every trust board to have member-nominated trustees on the trust board. And so we, as the sponsor, go through a process where members can nominate individuals who can sit on the trust board. It's required by law. When the Evergreen scheme started, we went through that process. And so 2 of the members who are on the scheme right now are member nominated. We do this every 3 years. And so I think the 3-year point is up next year, and we'll open up the process again to allow for membership nominations from the members of the scheme so that they can represent somebody who can sit on the trust board. It's not really a company-based decision. It's based on the nominations that we get from the entire membership.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Finn, for that. The next question we have is, how can our tier 2 be used to secure a mortgage facility? Mrs. Judy Chinemi, can you answer that first?
Thank you for that question, Solomon. So rightfully, the pensions law today makes provision for individuals to use their tier 2 contributions to collateralize a home loan, or let me say a mortgage facility. Today, we are yet to receive guidelines from the regulator on how to use your tier 2 to secure a mortgage. However, you can use your tier 3 currently, so I'm sure the process when it comes out may not differ significantly from the process, so I'll just explain that. Today, if you want to use your tier 3 account to secure a mortgage facility, you'll be required to provide a statutory declaration that states that you're acquiring the facility to acquire your primary residence. That's very key because it's outlined in the law. In addition to that, you'd have to provide a current tenancy agreement. You would also be required to fill a form and provide additional documents that you have to show that you are actually in the process of getting the loan from the mortgage provider. So these are the documents that you need. Once we receive all accurate information, withdrawals in our schemes do not go beyond 72 hours, so you should be able to do that when the need be for a withdrawal to be made. Let me clarify, however, that the provision in the law for tier 3 today requires you to list the assets as a collateral, as a security against the mortgage that you have acquired. It's not necessarily an outright withdrawal.
All right, thank you, Judy. I think that the next is in the line of the same intent. The next question is saying, what happens to my tier 2, that is Evergreen, when my employer changes?
Okay, thank you. So when your employer changes, you're still a scheme member and you have funds in the scheme. There are options available to you. You may choose to remain in the scheme, or you may choose to move to a scheme that your new employer is a member of. If you want to be a member of the Evergreen scheme, you will exercise the option, or you communicate to Petra your decision to move your money into an individual account under the scheme. So the law makes provision for that, and then we'll continue to manage it for you until such a time that you either choose to withdraw because you meet the qualifying conditions for withdrawal, like retirement, or you move it to add to other funds that are managed in another scheme, another tier 2 scheme, that you're a member of.
All right. For the very last question that has come in, you are asking, what is the difference between the Evergreen pension scheme and the tier 2 scheme? I think you are making reference to the Petra Advantage pension scheme. So what's the difference between those two? Kennedy, if you could take that for us.
Okay, thank you very much, Solomon. So first of all, the two schemes are tier 2 schemes, that is occupational pension scheme, right, by definition. However, the two schemes have separate board of trustees, and they have their own regulations that they operate under the scheme. So you have a board of trustee for Petra Advantage pension scheme, that is PAPS, and you have a board of trustee for Evergreen pension scheme. They are exclusively different, and decisions made on both schemes are not the same, but they follow the same guidelines as directed by MPRA.
All right, thank you, Ken. I think this is the very last one. He's asking, or she's asking, what happens to your tier 2 if you cease working and enter into a business on your own? What happens to your tier 2 if you cease working and enter into a business on your own? I think maybe Judy, you can take this.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, when you cease working formally, you also have these exit options that I mentioned earlier. You can choose to move your money into an individual account. Of course, you're not moving to another employer, so that becomes your only option. When you move the money into that, the law allows you as an individual who is self-employed to make additional voluntary contributions to grow your money and still take steps towards securing your retirement future. So you can exercise that option, make the voluntary contributions to top up what you have already accrued from your previous employer, and by so doing, you are still saving money to secure your retirement.
All right, thank you, Judy, for that. And thank you to all our panelists for the questions that you've answered. We'll be taking a quick break. Gradually, the curtains are being drawn on today's session. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll take some closing remarks, and then we can draw the curtains on today's session. See you back.
Goals, dreams, aspirations. We all have them, and they are the reasons why we save and invest, aren't they? But are you saving right? Because if you're not, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Let me introduce you to Petra's Wealth Planner, a personal financial planning and advisory service for individuals who desire to achieve their dreams. With Wealth Planner, a trained individual sits with you and develops a financial plan based on your unique needs and recommends the appropriate financial investment to attain your goals. What you need to do is to contact Petra for a planning session, and an advisor is going to call you to introduce him or herself and get to know you better and understand your current position and what your desires are. Then your goals are clearly outlined and a financial plan is developed based on your unique situation. Your advisor will also make some savings and investment recommendations to you to consider in executing the plan. Remember, the right execution is what leads to achieving your goals. That is why your advisor will keep tabs on your plan and provide ongoing advice throughout the execution until your goals are achieved. So, what are you waiting for? Call us on 0242 435 037 or send us a DM on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Petra on social, and let's get started. Petra, achieve more.
Hello and welcome back. It's been an insightful session so far. Quickly, we want to take some few comments and remarks from the team that is here with me on personal finance. And you know Petra is in the business of helping individuals to achieve their dreams. And to help us to do that, we want to point you or give you some indicators as to how to manage your finance and give you some information on what to do when you want to answer those particular questions when it comes to managing your finance. And so I have here with me again Judy Chinnery and then Kennedy Smith to help us with that. So guys, if you could just let us have some pointers or some indication regarding financial planning.
Okay, thank you, Solo. So I think we can't leave you without talking about financial planning because like our vision as a company, we want to partner individuals to achieve their financial goals. So every one of us as scheme members have personal goals, and most of these goals have to be funded to achieve them. To be able to do this effectively, you need to, one, recognize your goals and define the medium through which you raise money to fund them. And that is why we have come a long way to provide you with an option to help you get this done. You can reach out to us in Petra at any point in time to support you to define your goals, to come up with a plan on how to achieve them so you don't panic, and ensure that you are on the right path to achieving them in the nearest future. Key amongst your goals, the need to have an emergency fund. So have that in mind, reach out to us if you haven't done that already, because I know some of you have already done that, and let us help you to plan to secure your finances and then your future. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything to add from you, Mr. Kenneth Smith?
Yeah, thank you, Solomon. I think just to add to what Judy mentioned, there are a lot of investment packages that you can take advantage of. We have Wealth Planner with our Petra Securities Limited that you can actually jump on. We have the Savings Booster, which I know most of you are aware of, that you can also take advantage of. What we would like to share or like to conclude with is that if you're taking any investment decision, we always advise that you use what we call the SGR rule, and the S represents safety. You need to look at your risk appetite and look at which investment package that you're going to place your money with. And the G represents the governance of the institution that is handling the investment. It is very key that you look at the people behind the organization you are placing your investment with. And as you can see, with the profile that was read by the moderator for Mr. Kofifin, when it comes with expertise, it's something that Petra has. So if you're placing your money with any of our individual investment packages, it will not be out of place. But it is something that you need to always keep in mind when you are making investment decision. And the R represents the returns. We always turn the wheel where we focus on returns and we leave the safety and the governance behind. But try and follow this rule and your money will be safer, and you will always have competitive returns and a very secured income future. So that would be what I'll add to what Judy said. But please take that decision now and take it today. Don't wait till tomorrow, because tomorrow might be too late.
Tomorrow might indeed be too late. Too soon, all too soon, we are come to the end of today's session. As I said earlier, it is the first edition of the annual Scheme Members Conference, that is for the Evergreen Pension Scheme. And I believe that all the information that has been shared here has been beneficial to members, and you are better informed as to the performance of the scheme now. I would encourage you to keep engaging with the team, keep engaging with Petra, to allow for you to better be informed and allow you to make better decisions concerning your finance. In closing, we have Mr. Egan, one of our individual trustees, to give us some remarks as we close. So Mr. Egan, please.
Thank you, Solomon. As Solomon said, all too soon we've come to the end of our maiden conference. This is something which we expect to be having on an annual basis, so that we come back to you from the point of view of the trustees to share with you how your scheme has performed in the year, and then to share with you the returns that have been made for you to assess whether it's real returns or it's below the inflationary rate. I think this year we've actually been told that it was about 8% above the average inflation, which was quite good. And this is what we expect going forward. And even it should be higher as you go forward, more than the 8%. Hopefully next year, when we meet, we can be giving you some higher returns. I think you've heard, we've discussed about the chairman report that he gave. The regulator was here, and I think you heard from him, and it was reassuring that there are no infractions with the regulator. We had our auditor giving a clean opinion and not modified opinion, which obviously is an assurance the scheme is doing well in all areas. You've heard about the strategies and initiatives that Petra is put forward to ensure that your scheme continues to grow from strength to strength. I think these are all areas that, from the compliance point of view, from the governance point of view, and obviously from we the trustees, will ensure that we go ahead and strengthen it even further as we go forward, so that your scheme will be a healthy scheme for the benefit and the financial wellness of you, the members, when you retire, will be a sound one. I think on this note, I want to thank you all for making the time to be with us. It's a working day. You could have been doing something of a distance, but obviously, the pension is also very, very important for our own future when we retire. So on that note, I want to thank you very much for being present, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you. And as we've said severally, this will be a recurring event. And until next time, and that is next year, we will see you. Stay safe and keep away from anything that will put you in harm's way. Have a wonderful day.
Goals, dreams, aspirations. We all have them, and they're the reasons why we save and invest, aren't they? But are you saving right? Because if you're not, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Let me introduce you to Petra's Wealth Planner, a personal financial planning and advisory service for individuals who desire to achieve their dreams. With Wealth Planner, a trained individual sits with you and develops a financial plan based on your unique needs and recommends the appropriate financial investment to attain your goals. What you need to do is to contact Petra for a planning session, and an advisor is going to call you to introduce him or herself and get to know you better and understand your current position and what your desires are. Then your goals are clearly outlined and a financial plan is developed based on your unique situation. Your advisor will also make some savings and investment recommendations to you to consider in executing the plan. Remember, the right execution is what leads to achieving your goals. That is why your advisor will keep tabs on your plan and provide ongoing advice throughout the execution until your goals are achieved. So, what are you waiting for? Call us on 0242 435 037 or send us a DM on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Petra on social, and let's get started. Petra, achieve more.